Welcome, everyone, back and forth. Becker and Orr. Kevin and I are ready to go. We're going to have a lot of fun today, starting with, will the midterm elections impact the market? That's the lead-off topic. You can see the other topics at the bottom, including a lightning round. Lots of fun. You definitely want to stick around.
Yes, how do outside sources affect the markets? We're going to talk about some of that. And then, as Clint mentioned, we will get to the lightning round, which is going to be very fun today. But if you want to catch more back and forths or financial 15s, anything else we put out there on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go there. Great, easy to sign up, no problems. Or if you want, you can like us on Facebook. And most importantly, please visit our website at beckerorr.com. Lots of great content for you, blogs, events, videos. We've got the whole 9 yards. But today, we are starting off with the midterm elections, which are coming up quicker than I think. And what's going to happen and what has happened in the past, Clint, when the midterms have come, what's the effect on the market?
Yeah, and I get why we would jump into these things. The headlines, wherever politics is kind of in our face these days. So it makes sense. We want to pull that item and say, all right, what's the impact going to be on the market? But when you look at the history here, Kevin, you look at the data, it's pretty resounding. Will it have an impact? Probably not. And I'll pull up a bit of data here. I got this from Michael Batnick. You can see the source there. And it's a little dense. There's lots of data here in the table. But what it's showing is every single midterm election from 1942. So you got a number of them there going back quite a few decades. And the point is, from the date of the midterm, which is always November in the U.S., until June 30th of the following year, so roughly a 6-month stretch, always positive across the board since 1942. And the key here, it didn't matter who was in the White House. It didn't matter if they won seats in the House, lost seats in the Senate, whatever combination thereof, the market simply went up after the midterm. It across the board here, Kevin, across the board. So the question is, do politics, will they have a big impact? If history is any guide, no. The market really won't care about the political agenda. It really doesn't seem to care about who's in the White House.
No, I don't think it really does. I think the biggest factor is going in, of course, there's uncertainty. And what does the market hate more than anything else in this world? Uncertainty. As soon as the U.S. election or midterms is over, all of a sudden you have certainty. You know for the next 2 years for sure, you could have the Republicans or Democrats controlling the House or Senate, and you know how that's going to play out in the political spectrum as things go. So that gives people a little more confidence that, okay, fine, I know what's going on. I can all of a sudden get back in, or I can do things along those lines. I don't have to sell out. I don't see the panic or fear coming. So I think that's a huge factor as to how that plays out. But you're right. Who's in, who wins what side, the House or the Senate, really doesn't make a difference. It's the fact that the uncertainty in the market is all of a sudden taken out.
Yeah, you get this single event, right? We know there's going to be an election. There's going to be an outcome. So there's a bit of jitters, some uncertainty leading up to it. But once it's done, the market's like, okay, this is the situation, and you just move on.
Yeah.
And now we know what to price in going forward. It's not nearly as big of an impact as people might think, right? Lots of headlines, lots of debates leading into the election. But in terms of investments and markets, not a big impact.
Yeah, that being said, I do hope that it does follow the same trend. After the start to this year, a positive trend towards the next 6 months after that would be really nice for us.
That would be good. That would be good. And some more positives. We're talking positives in this year. I'll pull this up, Kevin. You can tell us what it's all about when the market retraces 50% of the drop.
Yeah, basically what we've seen here, and there's a lot of data that's on the screen to take a look at everything else. But the biggest factor to take from all the data that we're seeing there is even when you've had the market fall, if you have had the S&P index correct more than 50% off the bear market bottom from where it is, it has never retested that low. So that's always a positive to take a look at. Now, that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet and that we can't fall another 10, 15, 20%. But what it does say is that based on these sort of scenarios and what we've seen from these numbers, it does not hit that absolute low that we've seen. So theoretically speaking, on the S&P, that was the middle of June. So we've had a really nice recovery. We've recovered over 50% of where that's gone. And as we can see as a result, things have been sort of holding on right now, waiting for a few things to come out. So yeah, we could have a little bit of retesting, but based on that chart, we won't hit the new low.
Yeah, and I'll pull up the chart here. That was the data. I should mention both of these, the table and the chart from Ryan Dietrich at Carson. This one just shows you the chart and shows you the green, is that a diamond, square? I guess they're the same thing, green diamond. When the market retraced 50% of the prior drop. So you had a drop in the market and then it bounces and recovers more than half of that drop. When did that event occur? And you can see every single time, it's not perfect afterwards, but they don't make a new low. The market doesn't drop further past that prior low. So kind of an indication that, hey, maybe that worst of it is behind us. Of course,
Yes.
future doesn't always resemble the past, but certainly increases the probability that what we had in June was in fact the low, and hey, maybe we could be slowly finding our way out of the woods here and getting back to a positive track. So a little bit of reassurance there as we get into the fall, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, coming through summer, it's usually a slower time and everything else. September comes on, there could be, depending on what goes on with the Fed meeting and stuff like that, you could retest some of these numbers. But by the same token, if you get some better numbers that come out in the data-driven scenario that we're in, we could see things start to move up even further from where we are right here. But that being said, we've sort of retraced two options that may or may not have an influence on how the market's going to go. We should start with our lightning round scenario. And I think I will be the answering guy first. I'm waiting for questions to come my way. That way I can figure out whether or not I've duplicated any of these things. I don't have to ask them to you.
You willingly put yourself on the hot seat. Brave man. I've got them ready here, Kevin. I got them ready.
All right.
I'm going to start off with an easy one. Everyone knows you're a sports fan. Bombers played last night, squeaked by the Stampeders. 3 games left in the season. How do the Bombers finish the season?
I think that the Bombers, based on the fact that they're a 10-1 scenario, I would say that they're going to get probably 14 to 15 wins. I don't think they'll win out the season. I think the biggest thing that they're looking at right now is if they win the West, you may see resting a few guys before they get to the playoffs. And that's the biggest factor going forward. We sort of saw that last year when they ran away with it. So, and when they put guys in that weren't starters, we didn't sort of play as hard. So I'd say I'm looking at that sort of 15-win season. Maybe 14 on the downside, but I do think that we're going to win the West, and I actually think we have a really good shot at three-peating.
I'm getting the Grey Cup a third time. All right, let's switch to finance. Bank of Canada meets September 7th. What is the rate hike? 50 beeps, 75 beeps?
Okay, I'll cross that one off my questions. I was going to sit there and say, and now again, I mean, it's floating between 50 basis points and 75. I honestly think that since we did a full point last time, and we have seen a little bit of coming down in the interest rate, I do think that it's going to be a little more moderate. I am going to go 50 basis points because I think that they want to maintain things going forward, and I don't think they want to spook the market.
Okay, now same topic, similar topic. Inflation in Canada. Inflation in July was 7.6%. That was a decline from 8.1 the month prior. When we get the August data, is it going to be higher or lower than that 7.6%?
I think that the August data is going to, for lack of a better description, be flat. I don't see it moving up, but by the same token, I am not going with a downside. I just think that we had a bit of a reprieve, and I think everything went through there, but I don't think we've been out of the woods yet. Now, again, I mean, that will all depend sort of scenarios as, another half-point increase, and did they do right? But yeah, I'm going to go flat. I'm not going up or down.
I gave you 2 options. You went with option 3. I love it. Last question here, then we'll switch gears. We've seen a big bounce in travel, which makes sense. Folks locked up, pandemic, suddenly we're allowed to travel. Everyone's doing it. Does that big bounce in travel continue into the winter?
I think it will. And my main rationale for why I think it's going to do that is because I think enough people, last year they started to get away. Now that you really have less and less restrictions, I think you're going to get more people wanting that summer vacation or a winter vacation. So they see the snowbirds going all back to the way they were. And yeah, I'm going with more travel.
Alrighty, we'll switch gears here. I'm going to have some coffee, so I'm well energized to tackle your questions, Kevin.
I'm going to put my glasses on so I can actually see some of the things that are going on. I'm going to get to one that is basically starting right about now. Powell is speaking at Jackson Hole. Now, are his comments after he's finished today going to send the market higher today, lower, or is it going to have no effect?
I don't think it'll have an effect. I think he's going to say a lot of what he's already said. Like the Federal Reserve in the U.S., the central bank, they've had lots of communication, and they've been talking a pretty strong game. They followed through with all the rate hikes. I think they're going to be essentially repeating what they've said in the months prior. I don't think today will be a shocker when we actually get the data from Powell.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, as you mentioned, I'm a big sports fan, but we just had the Canadian World Juniors in summer, which never happens, and Canada came out with gold, which was wonderful. Starting today, the women's world champions are playing. The Canadians are Olympic and world champion reigning champs at the moment. Do they win again?
I think they do. I mean, their competition is really going to be the U.S. That's really what it comes down to. In the women's side, it's Canada-U.S. predominantly, and I think Canada will take it yet again. So we're rooting for the Canadians.
That's perfect. Okay, I'm going to get to a sort of an oil question. Oil's been all over the map in the last number of months. Now, it's above 100, it's below 90. This is my thing. For the end of the year, are we above 100? Or are we below 90? Or somewhere in the middle?
I can't predict the future, but I'm going above 100. Oil, a phenomenal tear, right? The oil prices just took off, and then we had a downturn, kind of chopped around for a little while, but I do think we're starting to see some resurgence of that uptrend, so I'm going to say above 100 by year end.
Okay. And finally, being movie fans as we are, there's a lot of different things that have come out. Now, Top Gun has been running away at the box office as the clear favorite for the year. By the end of the box office run, not the end of the year, because there's things that come out at the end of the year that are still going to have box office. By the end of the box office run, is Top Gun going to be the biggest movie out there? And remember, Black Panther, Wakanda, and Avatar are both coming out in December.
Do you mean domestically or globally? I need some
globally. I'm going
globally. I think Top Gun's going to take it because it's already over $1 billion and it's still climbing. Top Gun's at quite the haul at the box office. I think it keeps its top spot. I don't think it gets knocked off.
Perfect. Well, that answers all the questions that I've had. Well, not really. There's a whole bunch more, but we're going to leave it at that point in time.
We got to save
again.
some
If you have any questions,
we got to save some for next time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, if you have any questions, you want to know more about any of the topics we've talked about today or any of the financial 15s or anything else on that topic, please feel free to contact us at chatwithclintonandkevin.com. Quick, simple answers we can give you for quick, simple questions. Or if you want to get more involved, we can do that as well. Otherwise, I think we've covered a lot of stuff here to tweak your brains for the rest of the day. Clint, do you have any final comments you want to end on?
We'll end with tweaking brains. That's a good spot to end it for today. Everyone take care and stay safe.